Chapter 1. The Price of Prophecy. The cold stone floor of the dungeon had long ago ceased to feel foreign to Solange. After 8 years of captivity, she had learned to recognize every crack in the wall, every patch of mold creeping along the damp stones. A tiny window set high near the ceiling allowed only a thin sliver of light, just enough to distinguish day from night, but never enough to warm her soul with hope. They called her an asset, a valuable resource, a living tool of the Iron Fang Pack. It all began when she was 15. Back then, she lived in a small village on the edge of the Pack's territory, an ordinary girl with an extraordinary gift. Visions had come to her since childhood, flashes of the future, snippets of what had yet to be. Her mother had taught her to hide the ability, insisting that such gifts only attracted trouble. Her mother was right. When the warriors of Alpha Carrick arrived at their home, they didn't bother asking permission. Her father tried to protect her. His body was buried the following day. Her mother begged them to spare Solange, so they locked her in the next room, away from the screams. She'd seen her mother only once after that, a year into her captivity, when they brought her into the castle's courtyard for execution, charged with inciting rebellion. The last thing her mother said before death was, "Never lose your kindness, my daughter, not even in darkness, especially in darkness." Solange cherished those words as a talisman. In a world where she was used as a thing, where each vision was wrung from her by threats and pain, kindness was the last thread keeping her human. The dungeon door creaked open. A guard appeared in the doorway, a coarse man, his face pockmarked with old scars perpetually reeking of cheap ale. "Up, Seer," he grumbled. "The Alpha wants you." Solange rose slowly from her straw mattress, straightened her faded, worn dress, the only clothing she was allowed. Every movement sent a dull ache through her back, a souvenir from yesterday's session, when they forced her to look into the future until her nose began to bleed. "I'm coming," she replied quietly, her tone laced with sarcasm. "As always, I have so many choices." The guards snorted but didn't answer. They made their way along the long corridors of the castle, a gloomy stone monstrosity built on blood and fear. Torches cast flickering shadows across the walls, decorated with gruesome trophies. Enemy skulls, pelts of giant wolves, weapons from defeated foes. The council chamber was located in the central tower. Here, Alpha Carrick made his crucial decisions, determined destinies, and destroyed lives. Solange had entered the chamber dozens of times, yet the fear never entirely faded. Carrick was the embodiment of cruelty, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face chiseled from granite and eyes the color of aged amber, completely devoid of mercy. Today, the hall was unusually crowded. Besides Carrick and his closest counselors, Solange spotted several unfamiliar faces in expensive cloaks. Diplomats. "Ah, here's our asset," Carrick smirked, reclining in his massive chair. "Solange, come closer." She obeyed, standing tall. Years of humiliation had not broken her posture. This was a small victory she clung to. "See these people?" Carrick nodded toward the guests. "Envoys from the Silverwood Pack. We are concluding a peace treaty. Years of war have drained both sides, and Alpha Laurent has offered terms I happen to find acceptable." Solange said nothing, but her heart quickened. She already knew where this was going. She had seen this moment 3 days ago in her most recent vision. "As part of the agreement," Carrick continued, savoring the moment, "there will be an exchange of assets. Laurent demanded assurances of our sincerity, so I decided to give him you." The words hung in the air. One of the counselors, an elderly man with a white beard, winced, the only person in the room who ever showed Solange even a hint of sympathy. "Me?" Solange echoed, though she knew the answer. "Like an object?" "As an asset," Carrick corrected. "You are valuable. Your gift of prophecy will serve Laurent well. For us, it ensures peace. Everyone's satisfied." "Except for me," Solange murmured. "Your opinion doesn't matter," Carrick snapped. "Get ready. You leave at dawn tomorrow." Solange had a long night in her cell to ponder her situation. She sat on the floor, her back against the cold wall, and allowed herself something she rarely did. She intentionally looked into the future. The visions crashed over her in a torrent. Tall trees, a castle surrounded by forest, a man with silver eyes and a scar across his left brow. Laurent Kale, alpha of the Silverwood pack. His death, swift, brutal, at the hands of an assassin sent by Carrick 3 months after the peace is signed. But there was another scene, herself, standing beside Laurent, warning him. Battle, blood, and at the end, the Iron Fang pack falls, Carrick's castle burns, vengeance is wrought. Solange opened her eyes, breathing heavily. Her path was clear, dangerous, but clear. She would save Laurent Kale, not out of kindness to him, she didn't know him yet, but he would become her weapon, the instrument of vengeance against those who had stolen 8 years of her life. For now, she would stay silent and wait. Chapter 2. The Border Between Worlds. Dawn arrived cold and shrouded in fog. Solange was awakened by a rough shove to her shoulder, handed a bowl of watery porridge and instructed to dress in a travel cloak, old and mended but at least warm. An hour later, a small party of 5 riders and the closed wagon set out from the gates of the Iron Fang fortress. Solange sat alone in the wagon, her hands unbound. There was nowhere to run anyway. Through the tiny window she glimpsed bare tree branches, gray skies, and frostbitten ground. Late autumn in these lands was merciless. The journey took 3 days. 3 days of jolting along rutted roads, meager food, and shivering nights in roadside inns, where people stared at her as if she were some rare curiosity. The guards barely spoke to her, only keeping watch to make sure she didn't try to escape. On the 4th day, they reached the border. The neutral ground between the 2 packs was a wide meadow surrounded by ancient forest. At its center stood a large tent, the place for the official exchange ceremony. Warriors lined either side. To the left, Carrick's men in black armor emblazoned with the Iron Wolf. To the right, warriors in silver cloaks, their garments adorned with a running wolf beneath the moon. Solange was led from the wagon. Her legs were numb. She nearly stumbled, but forced herself to walk upright. She would not show weakness, not here, not now. And then she saw him. Laurent Kale stood in the middle of the clearing, near the tent. He was taller than she'd imagined from her visions, broad-shouldered and powerfully built, but he moved with a panther's grace. His dark hair reached his shoulders, bound with a leather strap. His face was stern, determined, with a scar slashing through the left eyebrow and into his cheek, a relic from some old battle. But what struck Solange most were his eyes, silvery gray, cold as a winter sunrise, piercing. The gaze of an alpha. When their eyes met, Solange felt something stir inside her. Not fear, she was used to fear, but something else. A premonition, fate itself, weaving an invisible thread between them. "Laurent Kale," said Carrick's emissary, the eldest of the guards, "as a gesture of goodwill and the sealing of peace between our packs, Alpha Carrick entrusts you with a valuable asset, the prophetess Solange. Her gift of sight will serve you loyally and faithfully." Laurent approached her, slowly closing the distance. He studied her with a long, measuring look, and she forced herself not to avert her eyes. Let him see not a broken slave, but a person. "Prophetess," he said, his voice low and rough. "So you see the future?" "Sometimes," Solange replied, "when it wants to be seen." His lips twitched, almost a smile, but not quite. "Witty. That's unusual in someone kept in a cage for 8 years. "Cages can break the body," Solange murmured, "but not always the spirit." There was a small silence. Laurent nodded, as if coming to a decision. "Very well. The ceremony is over. She stays with me." Carrick's emissary bowed and left with his men, saying nothing further. The wagon turned around, and soon the Iron Fang party had vanished into the trees. Solange was left alone, surrounded by strangers. "Come," Laurent said, turning away. "It's a long road home." She followed him to the horses. One of the warriors brought her a mare, a calm, russet-colored animal. Solange climbed into the saddle uncertainly. She hadn't ridden in years, but muscle memory quickly returned. The party moved into the forest. They rode in silence. Solange felt the curious glances of the Silverwood warriors, but no one asked her any questions. Laurent rode at the front, his back straight, his movements confident. An alpha through and through. By evening, they stopped to camp beside a small stream. The warriors pitched tents, built a fire, and the smell of roasting meat filled the air. Solange was given her own tent, small but clean, with warm pelts in place of a bedroll. Luxury after the dungeon. She sat by the fire, holding a bowl of stew, when Laurent came to sit beside her. He handed her a hunk of bread, fresh, still warm. "Eat. You look like you haven't had a proper meal in a long time." "Thank you," Solange said, tearing the bread. "It's unusual for an asset to get decent food." "You're no longer an asset," said Laurent. "At least not in the sense Carrick kept you." She looked at him, suspicion in her eyes. "Then what am I?" "I don't know yet," he answered honestly. "But you're certainly not a thing. I don't keep people in cages." "So I'm free?" Solange's voice held a mocking tone. "Free to walk away?" Laurent smirked. "You could try, but the forest is full of dangers. Alone, you wouldn't survive." "So, just another cage. Bigger, but still a cage." He didn't answer for a moment, staring instead into the fire. "I'm not Carrick," he said at last. "I won't lie and promise you freedom I can't give. The war is over, but peace is fragile. You're part of the treaty, a guarantee, but that doesn't mean I'll treat you as a slave." Solange studied his face in the firelight. There was something sincere in his words. Still, trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. "I'll believe it when I see it," she said quietly. Laurent nodded and stood up. "Good night, Solange. Tomorrow will be a long day." He left her alone with her thoughts. Solange finished her bread and stew, then returned to her tent. She lay down on the pelts, wrapped herself in a warm blanket, for the first time in 8 years. And before sleep claimed her, she whispered into the darkness, "Mother, I didn't lose my kindness, but I haven't forgotten what was done to me either. And they'll pay. All of them will pay." Chapter 3. The Silverwood. The castle of the Silverwood pack appeared on the 3rd day of their journey, when they emerged from the deep forest onto a hill overlooking the valley. Solange couldn't help but catch her breath. Unlike the gloomy fortress of Carrick, this place felt alive. The castle was built from pale stone that shimmered like silver in the morning sun. Tall towers stood capped with dark slate roofs. A vast forest spread out around it, not wild and threatening, but majestic and ancient, as if holding secrets of the ages. Through the trees, houses could be seen, a whole settlement nestled safely within the castle walls. "Welcome to Moonhold," Laurent said, reining his horse beside her. "The heart of the Silverwood pack." "It's beautiful," Solange admitted, and it was no mere flattery. After so many years in darkness, her soul hungrily soaked up the light. "We value beauty here," Laurent replied, "but we never forget strength. This is a safe place." They rode down into the valley. As they drew closer to the gates, Solange noticed more details: children playing in the courtyard, women hanging laundry, a blacksmith working at his forge, the rhythmic ringing of his hammer carrying on the air. Ordinary life, a world away from the misery she'd come from. The gate swung open. The guards greeted Laurent with raised fists, a symbol of respect. People looked at Solange with curiosity, but there was no open hostility. Laurent dismounted in the inner yard and helped Solange down from her horse. His hand was warm and strong. She quickly let go, not wanting to grow used to anyone's touch. "You'll be shown to your rooms," Laurent said. "Rest, get yourself settled. We'll have dinner together this evening. I need to talk to you." "About what?" Solange asked, wary. "Many things, but not here." He nodded toward the crowd, full of curious eyes. "Come." She was led to the eastern wing of the castle and up a spiral staircase to the third floor. The room given to her was spacious, a large canopied bed, a table by the window, shelves of books, even a small fireplace, luxurious. "You'll live here," said the woman who accompanied them, an older lady with graying hair braided into a plait and warm brown eyes. "My name is Alara. I'm the steward of the castle. If you need anything, just call." "Thank you," Solange said, glancing around. "This seems too good to be true." Alara smiled. "The Alpha ordered you be made comfortable. He's not the sort to keep guests in dungeons." "I'm not a guest," Solange replied quietly. "I'm a prisoner, just in a golden cage." Alara paused, then stepped closer and laid a gentle hand on Solange's arm. "Maybe that's how it feels right now, but Laurent Kale is a fair alpha. Give him a chance to prove it." She left, leaving Solange alone. The young woman walked to the window and looked out. The view stretched over forest and distant hills. Freedom was so near, yet so far. She closed her eyes and allowed herself a brief vision. Fragments of the future. Herself in this room, but in another dress, hair unbound. Laurent standing in the doorway, looking caring? Then darkness, blood, screams. A killer with a knife. The death of the Alpha. Solange's eyes flew open, breath shaky. There wasn't much time. She needed to win Laurent's trust, convince him to help her take revenge before Kyrek's assassin struck. That evening, Alara returned, bringing fresh clothes, a simple but elegant dark green dress and a warm shawl. Solange changed, looking at herself in the mirror for the first time in years. Her reflection surprised her. She had expected to see a broken, ravaged woman, but instead, pale, still young features, large brown eyes, and the dark hair Alara had brushed and braided for her. 23 years old, and yet she felt she'd lived 3 times as much. "Beautiful," Alara nodded approvingly. "The Alpha will be pleased." "I don't care if he is or not," Solange lied. Alara only smiled mysteriously. Dinner was set in a small dining room, a cozy space with a fireplace and a long oak table. When Solange entered, Laurent was already there, standing at the window with a goblet in his hand. He turned, and for a moment, something flashed in his gaze. Surprise? Admiration? "Sit," he said, indicating a spot across from him. "I hope you're hungry." The table was laden with more food than Solange had seen in years. Roast meat, vegetables, fresh bread, cheese, fruit, wine. Her stomach betrayed her with a pointed rumble. "Eat as much as you like," Laurent said, sitting down. "There are no rations here." Solange took a slice of bread, then some meat. She ate slowly, cautiously. After so much hunger, she knew not to gobble her food. For several minutes they ate in silence. Then Laurent set his knife down and looked at her. "Tell me about your gift." Solange froze. "What exactly do you want to know? How does it work? What do you see? How accurate are your predictions?" She sipped her wine slowly, gathering her thoughts. "The visions come on their own, sometimes while I sleep, sometimes in sudden flashes when awake. I see fragments of the future, not always clear. Sometimes symbols that need deciphering, sometimes very clear images." "Can you summon them on purpose?" "I can, but it's painful and exhausting. Carrick made me do it regularly." She didn't hide the bitterness in her voice. Laurent frowned. "I won't force you." "Really?" Solange asked skeptically. "Then why do you need me?" "Alpha?" "I have a question for you," she said, finding her resolve. "Why did you agree to the exchange? Why do you want a seer?" Laurent leaned back in his chair. "The war lasted 10 years. I lost too many people. My younger brother, my best friend, hundreds of warriors. When Carrick offered peace, I knew it was a trap. He's not a man of his word. But I needed a break, to give my pack time to recover. And a seer," he paused, "might help me foresee his next move." "So I'm a tool," Solange stated. "A weapon against Carrick." "No," Laurent said firmly. "You're a person with a gift. I hope you'll help me protect my pack, but I won't treat you as a thing." Pretty words. Solange stood from the table. "But I'm still a captive, whatever name you put on it." She headed for the door, but his voice stopped her. "Solange." She turned back. "I will give you your freedom," Laurent said. "Once I'm certain you won't run or betray me. But it has to be earned, by both of us. Trust doesn't happen overnight." "Agreed," she nodded. "Good night, Alpha." "Lauren," he corrected softly. "Just call me Lauren." She didn't answer and left the room. The first cracks in the armor. Days blurred into weeks. Solange gradually grew accustomed to her new existence. She was not locked in her room. She could walk freely around the castle, stroll through the gardens, visit the library. Alara became something of a mentor and friend, sharing the pack's traditions and introducing her to the other residents. The people of Silverwood were nothing like Carrick's subjects. There was no air of fear here. Warriors laughed and joked, children played, women sang as they worked. Laurent ruled with a firm but fair hand. He was respected, not feared. Still, Solange kept her distance. She hadn't forgotten her goal. Revenge. Iron Fang Pack, she needed Laurent. But first, she had to save his life. The vision of his death haunted her more and more often, becoming richer in detail. The assassin would come 2 months after her arrival, at night. He would slip in through a secret passage, strike with a poisoned blade. Solange knew when, where, and how. But if she told Laurent now, he'd ask, "How do you know?" And what would she gain in return for this knowledge? No, she needed to wait for the right moment, win his trust, strike a bargain. Laurent often invited her to talk. They walked forest paths or sat by the fire in his study, discussing philosophy, history, magic. He was educated, well-read, and, to Solange's surprise, a good listener. One evening, while they sat together in the library, Laurent asked, "Do you miss home?" Solange looked up from her book. "I have no home anymore. Carrick destroyed it 8 years ago." "I'm sorry," he said sincerely. "I didn't mean to bring up painful memories." "It's all right," she closed the book. "Pain dulls over time, but it never really goes away." "I understand." Laurent moved to the window, gazing out into the night woods. "I lost my family when I was young. My father was killed in battle. My mother died of grief a year later. My little brother was killed 3 years ago, ambushed by Carrick's men." There was a deep sorrow in his voice. Solange felt an unexpected pang of empathy. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "Revenge is a dangerous path," Laurent said quietly, not turning around. "I know it well. I've traveled it. It eats away at you until there's nothing left but rage." "And did you stop?" Solange asked. "I had to. My pack needed an alpha, not an avenger." He turned to her. "But I understand the thirst for vengeance. I see it in your eyes, Solange. You hate Carrick." She didn't deny it. "He killed my parents. He stole my life. Turned me into a tool. Yes, I hate him." "And what do you plan to do about it?" Solange met his gaze. "When I get the chance, I'll destroy him and all who serve him." "Alone?" "If I must." Laurent came closer, sitting beside her on the arm of the chair. "That's suicide," he said. "Carrick is too powerful. His pack is one of the largest." "I know," Solange clenched her fists, "but I have no choice. I can't simply let it go." "No one is asking you to let it go," Laurent said gently. "I'm asking you to wait, gather strength, find allies." He paused. "I could help." Solange's heart skipped a beat. This was the moment. But no, not yet. He didn't trust her fully. "Why do you want to help me?" she asked. Laurent gazed at her for a long time, his look making Solange's breath catch. "Because you deserve justice. he said, "and because I care about you." Silence fell between them, thick and humming with tension. Solange didn't know how to respond. Part of her wanted to believe him, but another part screamed, "It's a trap! Don't trust him!" "I need time to think," she finally whispered. "Of course," Laurent stood. "Good night, Solange." When he left, she remained seated, hugging herself. Everything was getting more complicated. Laurent was not supposed to be like this, understanding, kind, sincere. He was supposed to be just another tyrant, someone she could use without remorse. But he was different, and that scared her most of all. Chapter 5. Threads of Fate. Another month passed. Solange became more and more woven into the life of Moonhold. She helped Alara with the household, played with the children, and even started teaching several young girls to read and write. The kindness her mother had insisted she keep alive now sprouted through the years of pain. Yet at night, the visions returned. The assassin, blood, Laurent's death. The fateful night drew closer and closer. Solange understood. She had to act. Soon it would be too late. She found Laurent in the training yard, sparring with several warriors. He fought without a shirt, and Solange found herself admiring his movements. Precise, deadly, graceful. Scars covered his torso. A map of battles survived. When the training was over, she approached him. "I need to talk, alone." Laurent wiped sweat from his brow and nodded. "Let's go to my study." They climbed up the tower to the Alpha's quarters. His study was spacious, a large table, maps on the walls, weapons, books. Laurent poured 2 cups of water and offered one to her. "What's wrong?" he asked, sitting on the edge of the table, studying her troubled face. Solange took a deep breath. It was time. "I've seen your death." Silence. Laurent didn't move, only narrowed his eyes. "Go on." "In 3 weeks, on the night of the new moon, an assassin will steal into your chambers. He'll use the secret passage in the eastern wing. He'll kill 2 guards. He'll strike you with a poison blade. You'll die before dawn." "How do you know about the secret passage?" Laurent's voice was cold, wary. "Only 3 people ever knew about it. Me, my late mother, and the chief architect." "I've seen it," Solange said firmly. "It's prophecy, Laurent. It will happen if you don't take precautions." He stood up, pacing the room. "Who sent the assassin?" Solange hesitated. This was the critical moment. "Carrick. The peace treaty is a sham. He always planned to kill you the moment you lowered your guard." Laurent spun around. "And you knew this from the beginning?" His voice had a steel edge. "You've kept silent for a month and a half?" "Yes." Solange did not deny it. "I kept silent." "Why?" he roared, and it was as if thunder rolled through the room. The Alpha's authority, the predator's anger. Solange forced herself not to back down. "Because information is currency. Because I didn't trust you. Because I need your help in exchange for your life." "Blackmail," Laurent hissed. "You're blackmailing me." "Call it what you want." Solange stepped closer. "I can save you. I know when, where, and how the assassin will strike. I can tell you how to change the future. But in return, I want a vow." "What vow?" "That you'll help me destroy Carrick and the Iron Fang pack. Completely. Not a stone left standing of his fortress or his power." Laurent stared at her for a long time, a storm of emotions raging in his silver eyes. Anger, hurt, disappointment, and something else. Understanding? "You used me," he said quietly. "All this time. Your kindness, your conversations, your smiles. They were all lies." The words stung. "At first, yes," Solange confessed, her voice trembling. "I meant to use you. But then everything changed. You weren't what I expected. You were kind, just. You treated me like a person. And that broke my plans, Lauren. Now I don't just want your help. I want you to live. I truly want that. He stepped in close, so close she could feel the heat of his body. How do I know this isn't another lie? You don't, Solange answered honestly. You can only believe or not believe. The choice is yours. They stood like that, locked in each other's gaze, time suspended. At last, Lauren slowly, very slowly, reached out and touched her cheek. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. You've driven me mad, Solange, he whispered, from the very first day. I tried to keep my distance, to be a reasonable alpha, but you broke through all my walls without even trying. Solange's heart pounded so loudly it seemed the whole tower could hear it. Lauren. I'll help you, he interrupted. I'll give you the vow you ask for. Not for the bargain, for you, because He faltered, then exhaled. Because I've fallen in love with you. The world turned upside down. Solange looked at him, wide-eyed, unable to speak. No one had ever said those words to her. No one had ever looked at her as though she were precious, unbelievable. You don't have to feel the same, Lauren added quickly, stepping back. I know you have every reason not to trust me, or any alpha, but I wanted you to know the truth. My help doesn't depend on your feelings. By the honor of my pack, I vow to help you take revenge on Carrick. We will destroy him together. Solange felt tears prick her eyes, the first in years, not from pain, but from something bright, frightening, immense. I don't know what I feel, she whispered. I've been alone, broken, used for so long. I don't know how. Then don't rush. Lauren took her hand in his. We have time. First, we'll deal with the assassin, then with Carrick, and after that, we'll see. She nodded, clutching his fingers, and in that moment, something irrevocably changed between them. The invisible wall Solange had so carefully built finally cracked. Chapter 6. A Trap for the Assassin. The next days were a feverish whirlwind of preparation. Lauren gathered a small circle of his most trusted people, his beta, Marcus, the chief detail, the time of the attack, the assassin's route, his weapon, even his distinguishing marks, a tall man in a black cloak with a scar running the length of his left arm. Carrick hired the best, Marcus said grimly, a sturdy man in his 40s, his beard shot with gray. That scar is the mark of the Shadow Guild. Their assassins never fail. Until today, Lauren answered firmly. Thanks to Solange, we know everything in advance. Let's give him a welcome he'll never forget. The plan was simple, but risky. Solange insisted that everything should appear natural. Otherwise, the usual 2 guards at his door, there would be 4 concealed in the shadows. In the room itself, Marcus would be hidden behind a tapestry, and waiting in the secret passageway would be Taylor and 3 of the best warriors. A trap within a trap, Taylor approved. She was a tall woman with a braid down her back and a scar on her neck. I like it. Just don't kill him right away, Solange requested. We need answers, proof that Carrick broke the treaty. I fail, they die within the hour. Then we have 1 hour. Laurent looked at Solange. Are you sure of the date? Absolutely. The night of the new moon, 2 weeks from now, between the 2nd and 3rd hour after midnight. Laurent nodded. Then we prepare. The 2 weeks dragged on, agonizingly slow. Solange barely slept. Her visions became obsessive, repeating every night with slight variations. In some versions of the future, the plan worked and the assassin was captured. In others, something went wrong and blood soaked the tower floor. Laurent spent more and more time with her. They walked the woods, spoke of the past and the future, slowly learning to trust each other. He told her about his childhood, about becoming alpha too early, about the burden of power. She shared memories of her parents, her life before captivity, the small joys that had helped her stay sane in the dungeon. One evening, as they sat beside a stream, Laurent asked, When this is all over, what will you do? Solange pondered, watching the water dance over stones, won it. She looked at him, her heart aching. He was offering not just shelter, but a future. Did she deserve it after all her lies? Laurent, I still don't know if I can be the person you deserve. He turned to her, took both of her hands in his. Listen to me, Solange. You've been through hell. You were broken, used, betrayed, and you're still kind. You play with children, help Alara, teach the girls to read. You could have turned hard, bitter, but you chose another path. You're the strongest woman I know. And yes, you are worthy of happiness. More than worthy. Tears rolled down Solange's cheeks. She didn't hold them back. She allowed herself to be vulnerable for the first time. I'm afraid, she admitted. Afraid to trust. Afraid all this will collapse like it did before. So am I, Laurent confessed. Afraid I may not protect you, that I'll let you down. But fear isn't a reason to stop trying. Let's try together, slowly, step by step. In that moment, Solange truly felt safe. Safe in a way she never had before. The night of the new moon arrived, quiet and utterly dark. No moon hung in the sky, stars hid behind clouds. The perfect night for murder. Solange couldn't be in Laurent's chambers, harried but alive. We got him, he said. Laurent is all right. Call the healer. 2 of ours are hurt, but not badly. Solange rushed to the Alpha's chambers. Laurent stood in the middle of the room. At his feet lay a bound man dressed in black, the assassin. Tall, thin, scar on the left arm, just as in her vision. Laurent's eyes met Solange's, full of relief, gratitude, triumph. You saved my life, he said simply. We saved each other, she replied, and it was true. The assassin was taken to the dungeons. As Marcus had predicted, the man took poison. They saw him crush a capsule in his mouth. Time was short. Solange descended into the cell with Laurent. The assassin sat in a chair, bound in silver chains that burned his skin, preventing transformation. His face was pale, sweat beading his lips. Who hired you? Laurent demanded. The assassin stayed silent, sneering. You'll be dead in half an hour, Solange said, coming closer. Guild poison leaves no chance, but you can die with honor by telling the truth, or as a traitor, defending the one who sent you to your death. A flicker of doubt in his eyes? Carrick, he finally croaked. Carrick of the Iron Fang Pack, paid 50 gold. Said, peace is a lie. Wanted to weaken your strength. Is there proof? Laurent quickly asked. A letter? A seal? The assassin nodded at his cloak. Inner pocket, a letter, with his seal. Marcus searched the cloak, retrieved a folded parchment, unrolled it and showed Laurent. He read it and clenched his fists until the knuckles whitened. Everything's here. Contract details, the plan for the murder, even the dates. And Carrick's seal, it's genuine. He looked at the assassin. Thank you for your honesty. Your death will be swift and painless. The assassin nodded, gratitude in his eyes. Within minutes, the poison did its work, and he slumped over, lifeless. Laurent and Solange returned upstairs. In the Alpha's study, Laurent threw the letter onto the table and turned to her. Now we have proof. I can summon the Council of Alphas, declare Carrick an oathbreaker. He'll be outlawed. Every pack will have the right to claim vengeance. That will take time, Solange argued. Months, and once Carrick hears about the failure, he'll strengthen his defenses. He'll be untouchable. What do you propose? A quick strike, now, while he thinks the plan succeeded, while he believes you're dead. Solange crossed to the wall map and pointed to Iron Fang territory. Give me 2 weeks. I know every weak spot in his defenses, the placement of his troops. I lived there 8 years. I remember every corridor, every tower. Laurent considered. This will be war. A real war. The war already began when he sent that assassin, Solange said firmly. Now we hit back. He watched her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Fine. 2 weeks to prepare. Gather all the information you can. I'll mobilize the troops." He paused. "But you stay here. You'll be safe." "No," Solange replied with resolve. "I'm going with you." "Solange, this is my vengeance, Laurent. My pain, my story. I won't stay behind while you risk your life. Besides," she moved closer, "my gift may be needed. I can see traps, predict the enemy's moves." He wanted to argue, but saw the determination in her eyes. "You're impossible," he sighed. "Fine, but you'll be under Marcus's protection every moment. Promise me." "I promise," she said with a smile, her first true smile in a long while. "Together, we're stronger." Laurent drew her into an embrace, pressing his forehead to hers. "Together," he agreed, "until the end." Chapter 7. Preparations for War. The next 2 weeks turned Moonhold into a military camp. Warriors arrived from every corner of Silverwood's holdings, seasoned fighters, young recruits, even hunters and scouts eager to join the fight against Kyric. News of Ironfang's betrayal spread quickly, and many hungered for justice. Solange worked tirelessly. She drew maps, marked out every weakness in Kyric's fortress defenses, detailed patrol routes, the position of armories. Her memory was exceptional. Years of enforced idleness had been spent observing, remembering, planning. Laurent was astonished by the depth of her knowledge. "You can even describe the number of steps in the eastern tower," he remarked one evening, peering over her maps. "I had 8 years to study that prison," Solange replied calmly. "When you're locked away, every detail matters. You never know what will help you escape." "You plan to break out?" "Every single day," she admitted. But there was never a chance. Too many guards, magical barriers too strong. Kyric couldn't risk losing his precious asset. Laurent fell silent, and she felt the current of anger in him, measured but deep. "He'll pay for every day you spent in that cell," he promised quietly. "I swear it." Solange touched his hand. "I know. But remember, it isn't only my revenge. He killed your brother, your people. This is justice for all of us." Their time alone became ever more precious. Amidst the preparations for war, the stress and the fear, they found quiet moments, walking in the garden, sitting before the fire, just holding hands. Solange felt the walls around her heart slowly crumbling. She was falling in love, truly, deeply, frighteningly. One night, as they sat on the balcony of his chambers beneath a sky jeweled with stars, Laurent asked, "Have you seen our future, after the battle?" Solange hesitated. She tried peering ahead, past the coming war, but the future was murky, shifting. "I see pieces," she answered slowly. "Some joyful, some frightening. Nothing is set in stone, Laurent. The future shifts with every choice we make." "But in those fragments, are we together?" His voice was soft, vulnerable. She turned toward him, looked into those silver eyes that had become so dear. "Yes," she whispered. "In some of them, we're happy, together." "And in others?" "In others," she faltered. "In others, one of us doesn't return from war." Laurent squeezed her hand. "Then let's do everything to make sure ours is the happy path." "That's why I'm coming with you," Solange said firmly. "My gift can tip the scales. I won't let you die, Laurent, not after I've finally found a reason to live." He pulled her into an embrace, held her close, and they sat like that for a long time, listening to the nocturnal sounds of the forest, sharing warmth. The day to march dawned cold and clear. More than 1,000 warriors of Silverwood gathered in the castle yard. Laurent addressed them with a speech, brief but rousing. "We do not go for conquest, we go for justice. Kyric broke peace, he sent an assassin, betrayed our trust. He held innocents in bondage, killed without cause, ruled by fear. Today we put an end to this. For Silverwood. For honor. For the fallen." "For Silverwood," the warriors shouted back, raising their weapons. Solange stood beside Laurent, dressed in light leather armor made especially for her. A dagger hung from her belt. She wasn't a soldier, but she could defend herself. Laurent had personally taught her the basics of fighting in recent days. Marcus approached, fully armored, his war axe slung over his shoulder. "Ready?" "Ready," Laurent nodded. He turned to Solange. "Last chance to stay behind." "Don't hope for it," she smiled. They set out at dawn. The journey took 3 days. The army moved swiftly but stealthily through woodland trails, avoiding villages. Solange used her gift to foresee Carrick's patrols, helping to choose the route. Her visions became clearer, as if her power grew with the nearness of the finale. On the 3rd night, they made camp 5 miles from the Iron Fang fortress. Laurent called a council of war. Solange spread out her maps and explained the plan of attack. "The main gates are too well guarded, but there's an old culvert in the north wall, wide enough for a group to get through. It leads right into the dungeons. From there, 2 ways, one to the barracks, one to Carrick's tower." "Perfect for a special squad," Taylor noted. "A small group gets in, opens the gates from the inside, while the main force attacks from the outside." "Exactly," Solange agreed. "I'll go with the infiltration team. I know every corner." "Then I'm going too," said Laurent. "No," Marcus objected. "The Alpha must lead the main force. Your presence inspires the warriors. I'll lead the infiltrators. Solange goes with me." Laurent was clearly unhappy, but nodded. The logic was irrefutable. "Fair enough. But Marcus," he looked his friend in the eye, "if anything happens to her—" "I'll die first," Marcus promised. "You have my word." The plan was set. The attack would begin at dawn. The infiltrators would go in 2 hours before, shrouded by night. Solange couldn't sleep. She lay in her tent, listening to the noises of camp, her heart beating far too fast. Tomorrow everything would be decided. Revenge or death. Freedom or— The tent flap lifted. Laurent entered. "Awake?" "Can't sleep." He sat beside her, and she instinctively nestled close. "Afraid?" he asked quietly. "To death," Solange confessed. "But I'm going anyway. Because you're the bravest woman I've ever known." They sat in silence, then Laurent turned her face to his. "Solange, I want to say this now, before the battle, in case—" He hesitated. "Don't say that," she whispered, pressing her fingers to his lips. He gently took her hand, kissed her palm. "I love you. More than I thought I ever could. You've changed me, changed my whole world. And if we both survive tomorrow, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Not as an alpha and a prophetess, as a man with the woman he loves." Tears streamed from Solange's eyes. All her defensive walls finally collapsed. "I love you too," she breathed. "I don't know when it happened, but I love you, Laurent. And I promise, we'll both come back. I've seen it. We'll survive tomorrow." He drew her to him and kissed her, deep, passionate, desperate. It was a kiss of promise, hope, of a love born from ashes and pain. When they pulled apart, both were breathless. "Stay with me tonight," Laurent asked. "Just stay." "Yes," she nodded. They lay in each other's arms until dawn, holding on to the warmth, knowing tomorrow might change everything. But tonight, right now, in this moment, they were together, and that was enough. Chapter 8. The Assault. The night was starless. Thick clouds hid the moon, making for perfect conditions for a stealth attack. Solange led the infiltration team of 20 of Silverwood's best warriors, with Marcus beside her. Every step brought her closer to the place she hated with all her heart, the Iron Fang stronghold. They moved silently, like shadows. Solange guided them through the forest along familiar trails, the very same ones where once she had been dragged in chains. Memories flooded in. The terror of that 15-year-old girl, her mother's desperate scream, Carrick's cold eyes. Solange gripped the hilt of her dagger more tightly, forcing herself to focus on the present. The fortress came into view, a massive black hulk against the night sky. Torches burned along the walls, illuminating the guards. Solange halted the group with a gesture, pointing to the northern wall. "There," she whispered. "See the grate at the base of the tower? That's the waste outlet. The guards check it every 3 hours. Last patrol was half an hour ago. We have time. Marcus nodded, relayed the signal. 2 scouts crawled soundlessly to the wall, reached the grate. One produced special tools, carefully prepared, able to cut through iron without a sound. The work took 10 agonizing minutes. All the while, Solange kept her eyes on the guards, ready to warn of danger. At last, the grate gave way. The scouts signaled, path clear. The group advanced. One by one, the warriors squeezed through the narrow sluice. Solange went third, right after Marcus. It was dark and damp inside, reeking of mold and rot. Memories sharpened. The smell she'd endured for 8 years returned in full. They crept along the tunnel, hunched over. The roof was low, water sloshed underfoot. Solange led them by memory, never missing a turn. Finally, a faint light shone ahead, the exit to the dungeons. Marcus peered out, then gestured, 2 guards. Solange closed her eyes briefly, allowing a vision to come. She saw, 1 guard would turn in 5 seconds, but the other would look away for 10 more. A moment of opportunity. She whispered what she saw to Marcus. He nodded, relayed the orders. The assigned warriors slipped forward. A blow, and both guards dropped silently, unconscious but alive. Laurent's orders had been clear: minimize casualties among common soldiers. They were only following orders. The true target was Carrick and his inner circle. The group entered the dungeon. Solange looked around. Nothing had changed. The same grim corridors, the same cells. In one of them, she had spent 8 years of her life. Furious, cleansing anger flared in her chest. By the plan, Marcus said softly. Aldo's group to the barracks, block them from within. Rain's group to the gates, open them on the signal. You and I, Carrick's tower. The team split up. Solange, Marcus, and 5 elite warriors headed for the east staircase. They climbed quickly but cautiously. On the 2nd level, they ran into a patrol, 4 soldiers. A swift, brutal skirmish followed. Solange pressed herself to the wall, watching. Silverwood's warriors were better. Within 2 minutes, the patrol was neutralized, but the noise attracted attention. Somewhere above, a warning horn sounded. They found us. Marcus breathed. Faster! They raced upward. Stealth was no longer an option. It was now a race against time. Above, the sounds of shouts, running feet, and the clash of steel grew louder. Solange saw flashes of the future, flickering before her eyes. A left turn, a trap. Right, a clear path for 3 minutes. Straight, a dead end. Right! She shouted, and Marcus didn't hesitate. They raced through corridors, ducking arrows and sword strokes. 2 warriors fell, covering the survivors' retreat. Solange felt each loss like a blow to the heart, but she forced herself onward. The goal was near. Finally, Carrick's tower. A massive door, guarded by 6 elite warriors in black armor, the Alpha's personal guard.
With me!
Marcus barked, and they charged. The fight was vicious. The elite guard deserved their reputation. Each was worth 3 ordinary soldiers. Solange hung back, but when one guard broke through to her, she reacted as she trained. Dagger became an extension of her will. Strike, dodge, strike again. Laurent's lessons had paid off. The guard went down, clutching a slashed throat. Marcus brought down the last defender with his axe. The door was clear. Solange, stay here, Marcus ordered. No. She stepped forward. I'm coming with you. This is my vengeance, remember? Marcus wanted to argue, but one look at Solange and he relented. Then stay close to me. They smashed through the door and burst inside. Carrick's chambers were lavish, heavy tapestries, gold, trophies, and at the heart of it all stood the Alpha of Iron Fang himself. Carrick stood by the window, clad in full battle armor, a massive 2-handed sword at the ready. His face was twisted with rage. Traitors! He roared. How dare you invade my home? This isn't an invasion, Marcus replied coldly. This is justice. You sent an assassin after our Alpha. You broke the peace treaty. Laurent is dead? There was hope in Carrick's voice. He's alive. Solange stepped forward, and Carrick truly looked at her for the first time. He recognized her. You. My prophetess, you betrayed me. I'm not yours, Solange replied, her voice frosty. I never was. I was your prisoner, your victim. Now I am free, and I've come for what you owe me. Owe you? Carrick laughed, but it was a desperate sound. I gave you life, food, a roof over your head. You gave me a cell, Solange screamed, all the years of pain boiling out. You killed my parents, stole my childhood, made me a thing. Today, you pay for every day, every hour, every minute of my suffering. Carrick roared and charged. Marcus met him, axe against sword. The last two warriors entered the fray. It was a savage fight. Carrick was strong, experienced, merciless, a cornered beast. Solange retreated to the wall, watching, but her mind was racing. Visions swirled, showing alternate endings. In one, Marcus fell to Carrick's blade. In another, Carrick escaped through the window. In the third, Marcus, dodge left! She yelled. Marcus moved instantly, and Carrick's sword missed, sparing his life. Marcus countered, axe biting into the alpha's side. Carrick howled in pain but fought on. Now, behind! Solange called again, seeing another opening. One of the warriors struck Carrick in the back. The alpha staggered, dropped to one knee. Marcus didn't give him a chance to recover. His axe struck Carrick's hand, sending the sword clattering away. Carrick was disarmed, surrounded, bleeding, but even now his eyes burned with fury. Kill me, he rasped, but know this, my pack will avenge me. You've started a war you cannot win. Your pack? Marcus scoffed. While we stormed the tower, our forces took the gates. Your barracks are blocked. Your stronghold has fallen. You have no pack left. Carrick turned pale, finally grasping the magnitude of his defeat. Solange stepped closer, crouched in front of him, forced him to meet her gaze. 8 years, she said quietly. 8 years you tried to break me, but I didn't break. I survived. I became stronger. Today your power, your pride, your life ends not by the hand of another alpha, but by the one you thought too weak to matter. She drew her dagger. Her hand shook, not from fear, but from the force of her emotions. This is for my father. She drove the blade into his shoulder. He groaned. This is for my mother. Another blow, the other shoulder. And this is for every girl, every boy, every soul you broke, used, or killed. She pressed the blade to his throat. Carrick looked at her, and for the first time she saw fear in his eyes. Mercy, he whispered. You don't deserve mercy, Solange replied, her voice forged in steel from years of torment. But I am not like you. I am not a murderer. She drew back, sheathed her bloody dagger. Marcus, he's yours. Justice of the Silverwood. Marcus nodded. He lifted his axe. For Laurent's brother, for all who fell by your hand, Iron Fang exists no more. The blow was swift, merciful. Carrick fell, and with him, an age of fear came to an end. Chapter 9. Dawn of a New Era. Solange stood at a tower window, gazing out at the sunrise. The battle was over. The fortress had fallen. Silverwood's forces now controlled every key position. There had been losses, but fewer than expected. Laurent led the final sweep himself, accepting the surrender of Iron Fang's soldiers who laid down their arms. Yet Solange felt empty. Vengeance was done. Carrick was dead. Justice had prevailed. But instead of exultation, a strange emptiness lingered inside her. She had lived for this moment for 8 years, and now, when her goal was finally reached, what was next? Footsteps behind her. She turned. It was Laurent. He was dirty, grim, exhausted, but alive. More alive than ever. You did it, he said, coming close. Carrick is dead. His pack surrendered. Yes, she replied softly. It's over. Laurent pulled her into a tight embrace. No, Solange, it's not over. It's beginning. Your new life. Our new life. She clung to him, and the tears that came were not of grief, but of relief, of freedom. The burden she had carried for so many years had finally slipped away. I don't know how to live without this hatred, she confessed through tears. It was a part of me for so long. Then I'll teach you, Laurent said softly, kissing her hair. I'll teach you how to live, not just survive, to love, not just hate. We'll walk that path together. They stood wrapped in each other's arms as the sun slowly rose over a land finally freed from Carrick's tyranny. In the weeks that followed, there was much work to be done. The Iron Fang pack was dissolved. Soldiers who hadn't committed war crimes were offered the choice: join Silverwood or leave in peace. Many chose the former. Laurent's reputation as a just alpha preceded him, and word spread quickly. The fortress was not destroyed. Instead, at Solange's suggestion, Laurent transformed it into a hospital and refuge for the wounded, for war orphans, for those who'd lost their homes. Laurent readily embraced her idea. Let this place of suffering become a place of healing, she said. Her former cell was turned into a library. Solange herself selected the first books to fill its shelves, stories of hope, courage, and love. A symbolic transformation. A month later, when the most urgent tasks were settled, Laurent and Solange returned to Moonhold. They were welcomed as heroes. The people rejoiced. The tyrant was vanquished, peace restored, and the future seemed bright. That evening, in the great hall, Laurent gathered the entire pack. Solange stood beside him, puzzled by the attention.
My pack. Laurent addressed them. Tonight I have an important announcement. The war is over. Justice has triumphed, and none of this would have been possible without one woman. He turned to Solange, taking her hand. Solange, you came into my life as a prisoner, but very quickly became something much more: a friend, an ally, and finally, the love of my life. The hall fell silent. Laurent knelt on one knee, and Solange's heart skipped a beat. I can't promise you a life of peace. I am an alpha, and that means burdens, dangers, hardships. But I can promise my devotion, my protection, my love until the end of my days. Solange, will you marry me? Will you be my moon, my mate, my wife? Will you share your life with me, whatever it may hold? Tears streamed down Solange's face, but they were tears of happiness. She looked at this man who had saved her not only in body but in soul, who had taught her to trust again, to love, to hope. Yes, she whispered, and then louder, her voice ringing through the hall. Yes! 1,000 times yes! The hall erupted in cheers. Laurent rose, pulled her into his arms, spun her in a circle. He kissed her so that the world faded away. When they finally parted, Solange looked around at the faces, joyful, cheering. Alara wept with joy. Marcus grinned broadly. The children jumped and shouted. This was her pack now, her family. I love you, she whispered to Laurent. And I love you, forever. Epilogue. 2 years later. Solange stood in the gardens of Moonhold, watching as her daughter, little Elise, named after Solange's mother, played with the other children of the pack.
The girl was 1 year and 3 months old, a bundle of pure joy. Dark curls, silver brown eyes, a perfect blend of both her parents. Life had unfolded in ways Solange had never dared dream. She was not just the alpha's wife, but a respected member of the pack. Her gift of prophecy was used rarely, and only at her own wish, to prevent disasters, to help in difficult choices. Most of the time, though, she was simply Solange, a mother, a teacher. She had started a school for the pack's children, a healer of hearts. The wounds of the past had healed, though the scars remained. But now, they were no longer a source of pain, but a reminder of the journey she had taken, the strength she had always carried inside. What are you thinking about? Laurent's voice came from behind, as he wrapped his arms around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. How much life has changed, Solange answered with a smile. 2.5 years ago I was a prisoner, living for revenge, and now? Now you are free, Laurent finished for her. And happy, I hope? Happier than I ever imagined, she replied. Little Elise spotted her parents, squealed with joy, and toddled over on unsteady legs. Laurent scooped her up into his arms and spun her around, making the little girl burst into laughter. Solange watched them, her husband, her daughter, and her heart overflowed with love. Yes, the past had been dark. Yes, she had lived through hell. But she had survived. More than that, she had triumphed. She hadn't let the darkness consume her kindness, hadn't become a monster in search of vengeance. She had become what her mother had wanted her to be, strong, kind, and free. Mother always told me never to lose my kindness, Solange said softly, gazing at the sky. Even in the dark. I kept that promise, Mama, and I found the light. Laurent gently touched her cheek, turned her toward him. You didn't just find the light, you became the light. For me, for our daughter, for the whole pack. They kissed, long and gentle, while Elise giggled between them, and over Moonhold, the sun of a new day rose, shining down upon a world where justice had triumphed, love had conquered fear, and the future brimmed with endless possibilities. Thank you for staying with me throughout this story. If you enjoyed the tale, please share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really interested to hear your opinions and learn about your favorite moments. Discuss the plot, ask questions, and share your ideas for future stories. Your support, comments, likes, and subscriptions are incredibly important for the channel's growth and inspire me to keep writing. Let's create a cozy book-loving space together, where everyone can find something special. Thank you for listening, and see you soon in the next stories.